Welcome everybody to another episode of Truth Exists. Marlon Brand, Jeff Klein. Jeff, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm just sitting back, kicking back, watching some of the Laker game here, catching up on some general sports here, reading over some things as well.
Okay. Yeah, my Knicks are doing work.
I know, right? The Knicks looking good, man. They actually selling tickets for real. Well, they always sold tickets. People gonna go to the Knicks games regardless. But now the ticket goers actually have something to look forward to.
Yeah, finally.
Right. But like I titled the stream here, the Project Veritas shakedown. I know you was giving me a little bit of preliminaries on the discussion earlier today when I was headed to my meeting, but some of the stuff that you talked about, it was things that we already knew from the past, and some things that you said now that are starting to resurface. What's the guy O'Keefe? I don't know his first name. I know his last name is O'Keefe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'll let you explain. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna tell you his name. James O'Keefe.
James O'Keefe. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, he was. I know he's been doing a lot of investigative things when it comes to a lot of political things, but a lot of the social programs and things that are supposed to be meant for the people out here. He actually goes in behind the scenes and brings out the truth of what's really taking place with these organizations and what they're really doing with the people's money. I got introduced to him through, through this past election year with all of the voter frauds and all that good stuff that was taking place. He had a lot of great information. I actually sourced some things from him. And at first, a lot of people would tell you, "Oh, guys like him, he's a conspiracy theorist. Stay away from people like him." But then it started to get interesting as I started to notice that some of the higher ups are actually mentioning his name, and once they start telling you not to tune into somebody or not to pay attention to somebody, that hold up, this guy must really be causing some damage. And like I said, a lot of his information was some credible information. So from what you told me that the FBI, he had a shakedown by the FBI, I'll let you continue on from there.
Well, yeah. I mean, he has kind of, I think, opened up a window um for a new style of journalism. I don't
Hmm.
say a new style, but I mean, WikiLeaks is a normal name now, right?
Yeah.
But WikiLeaks, when they came out, they changed the whole industry of for reporting because WikiLeaks has never ever been proven wrong since they came out. So nothing that WikiLeaks has ever exposed has ever been proven wrong, or somebody uh, bring them to court and say this is defamation
Mm.
of character. None of that stuff.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when he or I don't know whoever WikiLeaks um, whoever came out and gave that information to WikiLeaks, they checked to make sure that it was a true story, and it was fact based. And
Hmm.
so what's happening is the attack of fact based journalism has been basically it has been in the crossfires from the political side demo the the, the demographics
Hmm.
of the political realm who are trying to get away with all of the misinformation and the lies and all this, they're attacking the news outlets that are telling the truth.
Right.
And what's happened in the last several weeks, just the just like um, when Trump was told, or we were told that Trump was a Russian informant and he was down with the Russians and they had this Russian dossier, this information that Trump was connected to Russia and they tried to impeach him over it.
Yeah.
That information has been proven wrong in the last month or so by the FBI and the news outlets that published it, that has that took that story, knew it was fake, and threw it out there, and not just threw it out there, but expounded on it
Mm.
and made up more things that were not true.
Wow.
Those individuals have had to come back and actually say that it was that they made a mistake, but they didn't publicly come out and say, "Hey, we made a mistake. It was um, it was a lie. Trump never was a part of, never did this." They just made a statement in the back of a paper that nobody's gonna read.
Yeah, that's
And
what
so
they do
they've
with
been doing
everything.
that for a while.
Yeah.
But what was happening is people on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, they were the ones saying, "This is a lie. Mainstream media is lying." And what they did was they basically they they took them out of the algorithms. They deplatformed all of these news platforms that people like me and you decided to stand up and say, there's real media out, there's real facts out here that people need to hear.
Yep.
And if those facts don't meet a certain agenda,
Hmm.
then it's considered not newsworthy.
Hmm.
And so what we're seeing right now is now that Biden's in power, we're seeing that not only are the tech companies been used to deplatform news platforms and people who just want to get the facts out there, but now they're using the FBI to go and they basically they came and bombarded his house, showed up with battle rams and guns, and they took all the information um, from him, his phone, his computer. They wanted to find out who and how he was getting all this inside information
Yeah.
because he had created this um, kind of this following and an outlet to show what the information that he found out. Um, and all of these whistleblowers were coming to him because they finally felt like they had somebody who they could trust, give the story to,
Yep.
and then he could get it out to the world. And so we saw people going undercover for Planned Parenthood, found out, yes, they're actually selling body parts. They're actually selling aborted baby body parts.
Wow. Yep.
We
At the
found
Planned
out,
Parenthood, that's been the thing. Yep.
yeah, we found out that, like you said, went undercover. Somebody found out about all of the voting fraud stuff.
Yeah.
He just recently blew the whistle on the vaccine companies. He had people that worked for Pfizer and Johnson and Johnson, and they had that one guy that was saying um, we should just blow dart all of the minorities because basically the black people don't trust uh, the medical industry, so we should just go around with blow darts and shoot them up door to door.
Oh my God.
So when people actually heard, wait, what did that guy just say? Go blow dart all the minorities and the black communities because they were actually they're right. They shouldn't be trusting these companies because they never had their best interests
It ain't.
at heart.
Yeah.
So there's been multiple, and then on top of that, he did another whistleblower in Facebook. Um, oh, wait, was it in Facebook? No, one of the social media.
Was it Twitter?
It, it was Twitter that actually they were um, targeting uh, people who were telling the truth and deplatforming people who were actually um, they were not doing the claims that they were actually claiming them to say that they were lying and fact checkers and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So this gentleman, what happened was some information came to him about Joe Biden's daughter, Ashley Biden,
Yeah. 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 You
and
were telling me about Ashley Biden. Yeah.
so he received this information and looked into it, and I believe it was like 100 pages of her diary was, or her diary was stolen, and he received 100 pages of that diary, photocopy,
Gotcha.
and so he could not prove that it was from her diary, but there is a communication on the emails that were that came out from Hunter Biden's laptop that
Mm-hmm.
supposedly the media said is not his, but now they had to retract that. Now they are his. Um, so that was another thing that the, the mainstream media didn't want to touch. Right during election time when they found these laptops and they found all this crazy stuff on it, sexual stuff, crack, showing showing them smoking crack,
Yeah. Remember that
hookers,
with the hookers and all that? Yeah.
little kids,
Mm-hmm.
dressed up as older women, all this crazy stuff.
Yep.
So on that, in those emails on that laptop, there was an email from Joe Biden telling his daughter, get your stuff together. Either you got to be out of rehab by a certain time because, or don't go into rehab because we need you. If when I get elected, we need you in the pictures. And it was a very um, heartless conversation.
Mm.
Now, your daughter is reaching out to you saying, because not am I a drug addict and a sex addict, but I believe that it stems from my childhood and from trauma, and I don't know how to handle this trauma, so I'm reaching out and doing drugs and doing all this mischievous um action, like
Wow. I didn't know that about his daughter. Okay.
yeah. And
Wow.
so I mean, so she had started to come to the place like I've tried to get all this help. I'm tired of using drinking and using drugs to
Mm-hmm.
kind of numb what I've been going through. I don't know what else more I could do, but look at my life and say, hey, maybe it's from trauma when I was a kid. And so then the email kind of was this conversation of Joe Biden basically saying there's bigger things, and that is I'm going to be president, and you need to straighten up, or at least until I get elected,
Yeah,
straighten up,
yeah, like
shut
clean
your
up your
mouth,
act.
and clean up your act. And it was very the way his wording was very heartless. I mean, if your daughter comes and she's got a scraped up knee and she's crying, or somebody's kid comes hurting,
Yeah,
you're not gonna say, like straighten up. I don't care if you got that scraped knee and you're bleeding and it stings. I'm trying to watch TV. I mean, that was the it was almost like that heartless conversation that a parent would have that they don't care when their kid gets hurt. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
And so that actually came and then came out in all these emails, but he could, but still nobody would confirm that it was his laptop, and so he couldn't use all of this these this information that proved that Ashley Biden did these statements her um, from her diary was true. He couldn't prove it. So because he's such an honest and upfront journalist, he is not he doesn't publish anything that he cannot confirm. So he got this information, turned around and said to the FBI, "Hey, listen, you might want to look into this. It's election time, and this is back in election time. There's a
Hmm.
there's a lot of information here about Biden's daughter. Nothing could be true. I'm not touching it, but here's all the information." He didn't hear anything this whole time.
Yeah,
So
because
he couldn't he,
they didn't want to they didn't want to report anything anyway. That's what it was.
because if they would have said something or did something, then it would have brought light to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
But in the pages which I read some of the, the statements in the diary, it talks about very early um, remembering blaming her father for her issues,
Hmm.
blaming her father, saying that he had she remembers taking showers with her father and that it was
What?
creepy,
Oh my
um,
God.
that her and her brother, I believe, were sexually kind of messing deviant with each other,
Wow.
um, that she was groomed and sexually preyed on, and that other people would come to the house. And so there was a lot of different statements in the diary.
Yeah, that's
Um,
sick, man. That's so sad.
yeah, but then all of a sudden, 2 weeks ago, this guy gets raided and says that he was he had he ate it. I don't know what the actual charges were. I don't want to say, but they were basically charging him with um, possessing stolen property.
Wow.
And so now a lot of people, um, well, a lot of the connections that he had are they're scared because now the FBI knows who all of those people were who
Hmm.
who hid the cameras, who did all that stuff. So they're afraid that the FBI has a hit list for them, and on top of that, he's basically his lawyers um kind of wrote. I don't know what it I don't know what it would be called legally, but basically they asked the FBI to release information, and they were very specific of the information that they
Wow.
asked for. So
Hmm.
like the FBI can't like the Garland is his
Yeah.
name, the DOJ.
Hmm.
He's not allowed to get involved in any type of theft unless it's over a certain amount of money. So they charged him with possession of stolen property or something like that. But his but the FBI isn't allowed to even do that because it has to be over like a couple hundreds and thousands of dollars for the FBI to get involved. They're not
Yeah.
going to go off after a petty larcenist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. True.
That that's for the local cops. But
Hmm.
for the FBI and the DOJ to get involved, there's strategic um, boundaries or not boundaries, criteria for them to actually bring people up on charges. And he does not fit any of it. And
Wow.
so they're waiting. They're waiting for Garland's response, and he has not responded to anything that they're requesting. So his lawyers are requesting a whole bunch of information, and there's a whole list of like five demands from their lawyers. We need your information on where you got this from, where you got this from, and how could you charge? We so basically they're going to force the FBI to relinquish all of that data that they don't want anybody to know about
Hmm.
now that they're charged. So they now the FBI has to come up with the diary with all the information that they're trying to suppress. They have to bring that to the forefront, and so they're making a bigger mess for themselves without but because they have the power, they could just wash it underneath the rug, and
Exactly.
nobody cares.
Right.
Nobody even cares.
Hmm. Yeah. That's that's
And
that's what they did with the Joe Rogan situation with the when he was talking about how he was taking the ivermectin. And
yeah,
CNN came out there. The host, what's his name, Don Lemon, came out there and mocked him on it. And when it came out to be that ivermectin was a suitable drug, now that FDA and everybody's approving it, they didn't even take it back. They didn't even go back. They actually doubled down. They came out joking even more. So it just goes
yeah,
to show that they all work together in cahoots to kind of keep the narrative going the way they want it to go.
exactly.
Hmm.
And so, we look at what our country has been going through since COVID and the way that the government has overstepped their boundaries. I mean, it is crazy. And we sit here and and it's almost like people don't really care. Like just because there was COVID doesn't mean that our constitutional rights are can be taken away. I mean, right now, in the Supreme Court, the I think it just went through the fifth um is it the fifth stage or the fifth whatever this, the fifth um well whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Basically, there's levels of Supreme Courts and there's different courts, and it's going to the sixth level because they just shut down Biden's mandate, and
Oh
so
yeah,
they're
I seen
saying
that. I seen that the
that
COVID
it's
mandate's been, yeah,
unconstitutional.
because of the inconsistencies of different places. People are going with it, some are not, and yeah, I seen
Yeah.
that earlier today.
So all of those mandates that have been forced with, I mean, even you've been a part of, was
Yep.
all against each individual's constitutional rights.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
because they
and
said they
they,
weren't going to do that in the beginning because it was that in the beginning. That's why they said that. But then
yeah,
when Biden gets in there, oh, But then when everybody reached herd immunity, supposedly you still got them wearing masks. So
And
what the hell is
now,
going on?
oh, you don't even, I mean, I don't want to change the subject, but
Well, go ahead.
uh, how how did they come up with a COVID shot, right? They came up with it pretty quickly.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, then they kind of found out that, well, they came up with multiple shots. Let's just say three major shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different companies. Then they come up with, um, and they had the testing. A couple months ago, they said that the testing wasn't accurate, so they came up. So now in December, they're getting rid of the old way of testing, and they're going to test for flu and COVID. So last year, if you were sick and had flu-like symptoms, they never tested for flu. They only
Mm-hmm.
tested for COVID. So last year, nobody was diagnosed with the flu.
Yeah. Nobody.
So nobody. So this year, they're saying, nope, the tests were inaccurate and we need to make the test better. So we're going to use a different test and we're going to test for flu and we're going to test for COVID. And everybody was like, it makes sense, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, guess what they just announced today?
What?
Well, it might have been yesterday or a day ago. That not only, um, well, wait, I, I left some information. So then the original shots that everybody got are not good enough, and we need boosters, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now the new shot that is coming out, they're not giving out just boosters, they're giving out a booster for COVID that is half COVID booster, half flu booster.
Oh my goodness. Get out of here. Yo. So now they figured out a way to make like a what we would call like a super vaccine. Like you do both
No,
things now.
they just figured out how to make more money
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's like, last year there was no flu, so why should I get my flu shot?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
what's really happening, and it's happening in some of the countries that we see that were fully vaccinated, and we're seeing it in college students more prevalent right now in America, is more college students are coming down with the flu than ever before. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
is because they were forced to get the vaccine. Their bodies are fighting off getting the vaccine from the impact of the vaccine. And now they're getting sick with the flu that they would normally not get sick from.
Yeah.
And so there's going to be a flu epidemic this year. So they're saying like they've never seen before, because everybody's immune system is so weak from taking the vaccine.
Wow. So now we got to worry about the flu. I
So
can't.
now it's going to be a big deal. And guess what? We're still not going to know who's dying from the flu or the or COVID. You know what I'm saying? They're just going
Mm-hmm.
to say it's those people that died of COVID last year.
Mm-hmm.
That if we could really find the true numbers, we would find out that the true numbers are lower than what they want to tell us. And on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, if we took out people who already would have died, we know how many people die every year of from the flu. That's calculated into our society. Flu is something that hits us every year, and X amount of people die. They know that's going to happen. What if that amount of people that they already predetermined every year that died of flu, what if that amount was the same amount of people that died of COVID? That would kind of be a little fishy, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what's end up, that is actually what's happening right now.
Wow. People, man. That is crazy.
So this epidemic that they're saying was an epidemic really was not an epidemic. Because just think about it. How many people did you see dying in the street?
Nobody. That's what they try to make it seem like. Oh, it's spiking. It's spiking.
Yeah. How many homeless people did have you passed
That's getting the
in
vaccine.
Rochester living on the street? How come none of them got COVID
Right.
and died? They should have the worst immune system.
If right of anybody, right? Being
Yeah.
unclean and the horrible conditions,
So
they
I'm
would be
not
the
saying
number
they
one.
didn't catch COVID, and I'm
Hmm.
not saying that COVID isn't real, but I guarantee you they had COVID and they never went to the hospital.
Hmm.
How many crackheads got COVID and just kept on smoking crack because they didn't want to stop, right?
Exactly.
So, these things that we have, the, the things that the government has been able to take away from us, all in the kind of in the mirage of this pandemic, they have been able to close churches,
Hmm.
synagogues, um, Muslim temples. They have taken the right, a fundamental right, which is we have the freedom of religion and the freedom to congregate underneath a religious entity.
Hmm.
That is a freedom, one of the major freedoms of our Constitution, to assemble. That was gone underneath this idea that we're going to take your right away for the better of society.
Right. That's what they did.
And
That's
that's what
exactly
they
what they
did.
did.
So they took the freedom of religion away. They
Hmm.
took the freedom of free speech. Anybody who was on social media talking bad about the vaccine, talking bad about Fauci, talking bad about Biden, or anything that the Democratic Party would deem um, against their plan, they were demonetized. Their platforms were you know decreased. Um, they
Yep. Demonetized. Yep.
demonetized. They did whatever they could. They used social media as a tool and weaponized the CEOs so that they could eliminate the truth, people telling the truth. And even if
Hmm.
it wasn't the truth, they still have the right to say it.
Exactly. Right. And that's the thing about the freedom of speech, like you were saying.
Yeah. So they have stolen our freedom of speech right from underneath us.
Yeah.
And it seems like nobody cares because they've been able to say they're evil. We we shouldn't be hearing from their mouth because they are from the evil side and they shouldn't have the same rights as everybody else.
Yeah.
So they've been able to manipulate the American people to separate us so much. that it's okay for me to watch s- somebody else, let's say you,
Hmm.
get your rights taken away because I don't agree with your political stance
Yeah.
or your medical stance
Hmm.
or your whatever stance
Yeah.
because it's not a part of the agenda that the politicians who are in power now want to to roll out to to the country and to
Yeah.
the world.
Because that's what I said.
And
All it is
now,
is the guilt trip. That's what I do is
yeah,
guilt trip you, make you feel bad, make it about your family, your kids. But that's the reason why we're not doing it. Like,
yeah. And then on top of that, look, I mean, look at the numbers. CNN, garbage. MSNBC, guard. All of these news outlets, their numbers are dropping. Once Trump backed up out of the scene, their numbers have dropped. in- Like they're ready
tremendously.
to cut. Yeah, they're ready. I read an article. They think that they're going to be cutting some of the major faces on CNN because they just don't have the numbers.
Yeah, because inflation done got so crazy. You
Yeah,
be looking like, man, I got to pay this person more, and then it's not even worth it because people are not even viewing it. Because
yeah,
everybody going to TikTok. That's what it is. Everybody leaving and going to all these other platforms. It's like, man, I can get the news right here. I'm not about to tune in. And then so many people are getting wise to the tricks and the games. Like a lot of people, like, man, all right, I'm tired of hearing this. Let me talk to this guy. I know this guy right here. He's always kicking real facts about life. They just tune into their own personal little resource, such as
exactly.
ourselves. You know, people like we just
Yeah,
listen to them guys. I'd rather listen to what they're saying than listen to what the mainstream is saying because we know they're just doing it for the advertisements.
exactly.
You
And
know.
so now, not only is it freedom of religion, freedom of speech, now they're attacking freedom of press.
See.
And they have been attacking freedom of press, but it's been very covert because
Mm-hmm.
you don't think that there's a difference between freedom of speech, somebody on Facebook um, telling everybody how they feel about a candidate or about a vaccine or um, about Fauci than a reporter actually reporting on Fauci.
Yeah, no. Right.
And so now they've blurred those lines. And because it's been so hard for people to get real facts, freedom of speech and journalism, people who, like me and you, we turned almost into journalism.
Yeah,
You know,
had to.
we've had to.
Yeah.
We've had to dig in and try to find the facts.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, not only is it freedom of speech, but now they're saying, well, now all these people are turning into journalists. They're doing the research. They're
Yeah.
searching out this information, and then they're turning around and using their platform on social media and other outlets that they can't control anymore to tell the facts, like TikTok and all this other stuff.
Man.
And so now they're going after journalists so they can tie freedom of attack the freedom of speech and attack the journalists.
Mm-hmm.
And so this young man, James O'Keefe, is being, I mean, for doing being a journalist and doing it the right way and not reporting a story that he could not prove had facts to it. Now he's wakes up in the morning, guns in his face, dogs all in, I mean, they treated him like he was like a major drug dealer
Yeah.
or, like a terrorist. And his whole career is on the line right now.
Yeah, that's sad, man. And nobody cares. Like you said, there's not going to be any mainstream cry out to come and save him. It's going to take just, the smaller outlets and stuff to kind of just, bring his name up. I mean, I'm sure Joe Rogan and probably, some other podcasts to probably bring up his name in the situation to kind of shine some light on it. But it's a horrible situation to be in because, like I said, he was so viable. I feel the same way about Alex Jones. I mean, some things he may have went on a tangent about, but for the most part, I think he was a viable resource to a lot of people like us that want to know a little deeper of what's actually going on. People that actually get in your face, actually go to the forums, go to the buildings, the offices, to the legislators, and ask them their questions with the microphones in their face. They were
Yeah,
those type of people.
the
And I just
press.
think, yeah. So I just think with society now, it's just everything is just being so babysat, and everybody's feelings is being considered, and nobody's really thinking about anything from just like a practical standpoint. I know everything practicality has went out the window. Moralism has went out the window. I mean, everything is just pretty much if you can get a group of people around it to sign off on it, whatever emotion, whatever you feel, it's being checked off, or it's being allowed, or it's being considered now. With especially with the Democrats in the office, and this regime here is just. I mean, any legislation you need. I mean, if you feel like you want to start a men dating kids group, you push it hard enough, you get enough people to sign off on it. You bring it to this to this campaign, to this party. Oh, they're highly considerate. I mean, that's how sick it's all becoming. It's getting so sick. I can't even. Oh man, I can't even continue to even think about it, even talk about it when I just know that they care less about the people. They care less. It's all about the special interest groups and their friends and the nepotism.
I mean,
That's all
it's
it is. How
crazy
did
because
Biden's son get that job over in Ukraine? Nepotism. He wasn't suited for that. It's nepotism.
yeah,
How did Biden become the president? I mean, come on. This is his third try. He finally get in. Come on.
well, they had to find somebody that they could manipulate and just didn't care about how he looked,
Mm-hmm.
and how people would. I mean, there's no way. I mean, I remember, it's funny, the statements that I remember all about Trump, and I'm not saying Trump was the best president of all time. I'm not even gonna go there.
Yeah.
But the statements that were made about Trump that ended up not to be
True.
true,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's almost like they like what's that called when you say something about somebody but really it's yourself? It's
It's
like
like projecting.
foresh
Like
projecting.
projecting.
That's the word. I wanted to say foreshadowing, but
Yeah.
projecting.
Yeah.
They People projected all this stuff onto Trump being the worst president. Oh, he's going to crumble the economy. He's going. Nobody respects America anymore because of him. I mean, Biden just got out. Biden today. This is crazy. Today he had a meeting with the president of China. Right.
Mm-hmm.
An hour after that meeting,
What happened? Hello? Hey, Jeff.
If I'm a felon just coming home from a 20-year sentence because of Joe Biden and that bullshit bill that him and Hillary put forth.
Another thing about how perspectives change over time. Bobby Rush, member of Congress, said the other day, I'm ashamed that I voted for the.
Hey, Jeff. Hello.
Hello?
Yeah.
I don't know what
Well, I don't know what happened. You must have got kicked out or something. I was here. I was like, Jeff.
yeah.
Hello, Jeff. But you were making a point about Biden.
Oh, I was just saying that, everybody said that the world did not respect America. Like Trump caused the respect of
Mm-hmm.
America to decrease, and no, the world doesn't respect America the way they should because we're the superpower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today he had a meeting with the president of China, and he ended an hour afterwards. They flew military planes over um, over Taiwan,
Mm.
which Taiwan and China are about to go to war,
Okay, got you. I was gonna say, what was
and
it?
Trump put a stop to it and stuck up and said, China, you need to back away. Like this, you need to get out of this, and even because China wants the right for the waterways
Yeah,
to go through, and so China built an island in the middle of the ocean just so they could have water rights in a certain sea out in the Pacific Ocean,
yeah,
so that their ships can cut through and their trade routes would be a better trade route for them. But anyway, an hour after he left, they flew those planes just to show the world how much they disrespected Biden and America.
Wow. Right after the
Because
meeting.
I guarantee you that would have never happened if Trump was in there. And if it did, there would be repercussions.
Yeah. You know, Trump would be arming the guards. Boy, Trump ain't
Yeah.
play. He armed the guards ASAP. So I think you're trying to, cause see, Trump get into it. He get into the whole. See, Trump understands it's me versus you. He understood that about America. See, Biden
Yeah.
and them don't understand that. Well, they do, but they try to play to the people that they don't.
And
Yeah, they
he
try
and
to.
he he
Go ahead.
he acted like a man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yep.
yo, how dare you disrespect me? That's like back in the day when somebody put a stick on your shoulder and said, "Knock your mother off your shoulder."
Yeah, I
Some
remember
that
that.
that
remember that? yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's what the
You touched
Chinese
that
come.
stick. Yep.
That's what the Chinese country just did to America. They knocked our mother off our shoulder, and
Mm-hmm.
for the whole world to see.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, just think of all the things. They said that Trump was tied to China, and that China was helping them get elected. It turns out that that was totally false, and that the Democrats and Hillary Clinton were in bed with China and
Yeah.
the Russians,
Yep.
and that Russia actually helped. They were getting information from Russia to try to set up um, Trump.
Mm-hmm. But see, they
I
didn't
mean,
come out and
just
tell people that. They didn't come out and let that be known, like you were saying
yeah.
that this is false.
They tried to say that Trump was keeping kids in cages.
Yeah. Now look at them.
Now look at them.
Looking worse.
It's worse. Actually, today they just found out. This is crazy. On a separate topic, they just found out that the government, that Biden's government,
Mm-hmm.
they have been and what they're calling it is human trafficking, and by definition they are doing it. They are human trafficking these people to all these different states. And they're giving them, all these people that are coming off across the border illegally, they're giving them a packet. And they found somebody's packet. And the packet tells the, the family how to maneuver through America without a passport, a license,
What?
or a social security card. It
That is crazy.
lays out all of the ways to move around, and then it tells them how to get money from the government to set up and get into a house and to get money per child and everything from this new bill.
See, man, this is about to be some senseless killings coming. The next summer is gonna be even worse. It's gonna be foreign killings now all over
Well,
the
I
country. You
think
don't know
they're
where it's
leading.
gonna be coming from. It's gonna be they're gonna be widespread.
I I think I think the Democrats, the only way that Democrats can, and Biden and their and I guess their initiatives, the only way that they can continue to do what they can do is if they can create more violence and more rioting to
Hmm.
happen. That's the only way, and we see it leading up to what's going on with that kid that shot and killed, well, shot three people and killed two. Um, I forgot his name, or Rother Ritten or something.
That was the one at the schools, right?
The no,
Oh, no,
the
oh, you
the
talking about the Kyle
trial,
Rittenhouse.
Kyle
Kyle,
Rittenhouse,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they're continuing to say he was a white supremacist.
No,
I mean, he killed two white people
how you kill
and
two white
shot.
people? That's all I be telling people. Stop. Like, y'all acting crazy.
But did you see the clip of MSNBC and CNN? They did a clip of all of their clips about him, and and he's going to do the same thing. That remember that one kid that got he he was like one of the first people to really get canceled. He was a student, a high school student, and they went to like Washington D.C. and he got reamed out by an Indian member right in Washington D.C.
Hmm.
and then somebody else, and they said that he was a white supremacist because he just stood there and kind of had this like weird smirk on his face. Do you remember that case?
I can't remember. Is he out of the country now?
No, he was an American, and he was an American student, and their class trip was in Washington D.C. and there was an Indian like protesting, hitting the drum, and he had a mega hat on, and everybody bum rushed him and started yelling at him and like trying to take his hat and pushing him around, and he stood there and held his ground, but he didn't say anything, nothing disrespectful. He just stood there, but he had this because he was really scared because I mean he was a high school student with these grown men in his face. So
Right.
the press went crazy. He was a white supremacist. He was racist. He was saying stuff to the Indian. And then somebody stuck up for the Indian and he was talking, all the, I mean, they made him look like he was Ku Klux Klan. And he ended up suing CNN and suing another company. And he got something like $222 million, some crazy amount for defamation of character. Did you ever hear? Uh, you ever? Does that ring a bell? Well, if if that doesn't, but anyway, I believe that this guy Rittenhouse, he's going when he gets done with this trial, he's going to be acquitted, and he's going to sue MSNBC and CNN, and he's going to get a lot of money for defamation of character. So that's really kind of what I wanted to talk to you about and kind of discuss tonight, just about the craziness that's going on and the just the backward nonsense that that Biden is. I mean, uh, one day, probably next week, we should break down um, all of these new bills that just got passed because there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on in there. So that is connected to China and connected to the fall of this economy. I mean, uh, I think people are realizing that whatever Biden is doing is causing our economy to crumble, and we are heading down a hill with no brakes. And Biden administration and the the way that he their philosophy for the economy is just putting more weight on the wheels that are heading down the hill. So we're going to start to really gain some speed um, before basically the crumble of our economy. So we can talk about that maybe next time because there's a lot to unravel about that. So everybody have a good night. Thanks for joining and listening. Have a great night. And if you could hear me, Marlon, peace. Have a good evening. I think we're having some difficulties, but I'm going to jump off. All right, man. Peace.